Hi everyone, Julia here. Today's practice is going to be a beginner-friendly practice. For those of you that are interested in starting your own home practice, this is a good one to get started, understand the basics. It'll take about 20 or so minutes and you don't need any props. If you do have any pain in the knees and have any issues with keeping the knees pressing into the ground, feel free to grab a blanket to place halfway up your mat. So we'll go ahead and get started. So find a comfortable seat. This is called Sukhasana. Legs are just crisscrossed. This is also easy pose. And your goal in this pose is to make sure that you have a nice tall spine. So if you have trouble sitting high up like this, maybe place a pillow or a blanket underneath your butt, and that'll lift you up and kind of expand your torso area and allow for easier breath. And so you'll want to stack your shoulders directly over the hips and your head directly over the shoulders. And then bring your eyes to a close. We'll begin with a pretty short meditation here just to get into the breath and get settled into our practice. And just take a moment here with your eyes closed to notice the seat below you. Just bringing some awareness to the body and the breath. Maybe pinpoint here if you feel any sensation in the body anywhere, any tension, soreness, pain. And then go ahead and take deeper breaths here. So deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Feeling the belly expand as you inhale. And feeling your weight press into the mat, press into the ground below you as you exhale. Allowing yourself to feel a sense of lifting or lightness as you inhale, reaching the crown of your head up. And feeling a sense of grounding or heaviness as you exhale. Take 3 more breaths at your own pace here. And then gently open the eyes once you're done with those 3 breaths. Just checking in here with your posture, making sure that the shoulders are still stacked over the hips, head is directly over the shoulders. There's no rounding in the back here. And so what we're working to do throughout this practice is connecting our breath with our movement. That's a good foundational piece for yoga, and it's a good way to begin practicing or begin incorporating that into your practice. So on your inhale, draw your shoulders up to your ears. Hold the breath as you drag them back, and then exhale as you lower the shoulders down the back. We'll do that a few more times slowly. So inhale, shoulders pulled up towards the ears. Hold the breath as you drag them back, and exhale, lower them down the back. So you're feeling expansion across the chest here that allows for more air access. Again, inhale, reach the shoulders up towards the ears. Hold the breath as you drag them back, and exhale, lower them down the back. Do it 2 more times on your own. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then draw your chin towards your chest as you exhale, feeling the stretch across the back of the neck. And as you inhale, bring your gaze up at the ceiling, feeling the stretch across the front part of the neck. Again, exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, lift the gaze up. Do it 3 more times on your own. And then once you're done, come back to your natural gaze. So we'll make our way into a tabletop position. Coming onto all fours here. You'll bring your knees directly below the hips and the hands directly below the shoulders. A good way to measure that your hands are about shoulder width apart, which is what we're aiming for here. Press your palms into the ground and then rotate your fingertips towards each other. Bring your middle fingers to touch here. That is shoulder width apart for you. So press the palms back into the ground, rotate your fingertips forward without lifting the palms. And keep a nice bend in the elbows here, so no need to hyperextend the elbows. Spread your fingertips wide and then press into the tops of your feet. Make sure here that you're not allowing the belly to dip down. You want to feel that engagement in the core. And that's your tabletop position. This is a good foundation to work from. And now we'll move into cat and cows. So as you inhale, you'll reach the belly towards the ground, arch the back, gaze comes all the way up, shoulders down the back, and exhale, round the back, bringing your gaze in between the knees or even to the feet. Again, inhale, dip the belly down, bring your gaze all the way up, and exhale, round the back, gaze comes in between the feet or the knees. Really press your hands into the ground. Again, inhale, dip the belly down, gaze comes up, and exhale, round the back. Do it 2 more times on your own, staying with the breath here. Then come back to that neutral tabletop position. Extend your right leg back behind you, leaving the toes on the ground here. And we'll come into a calf stretch. So begin to rock forward and back on the ball of the foot and on the toes. And then lift that right leg up, flex through the toes here. And then you can either step or gently place your right foot in between the palms. And then from here, come up onto the fingertips. Make sure that your knee is directly over that right ankle, and then bring both hands up to the right knee, coming into this low lunge. So if you want to feel a stretch in the left hip here, you'll walk your right foot forward a little bit and then bend into that right knee. If you feel too much of a stretch, it's a little bit too intense, you'll lift up out of it a little bit, pulling the right leg back. And just stay here for 2 more breaths. And then place your hands down on the ground, stepping back to your tabletop position. Then you'll extend the left leg back behind you, straightening out the left knee, coming onto the toes, and begin to shift forward and back on the ball of the foot to the toes, feeling that calf stretch. Keep actively pressing into the palms here. And then lift that left leg up, flexing through the toes, and gently step or place that left foot in between the palms. Come up onto the fingertips. And then make sure, again, we're aligning the left knee directly over that left ankle, bringing the hands to the left knee. And again, adjust if you need to here. So if it's too intense of a stretch, wiggle that left foot back a little bit and come back into the stretch. If it's not intense enough, left foot steps forward and bend right back into that knee. Take 2 more breaths. And then lower the hands down to the ground. Step back to your tabletop position. We'll come into child's pose. So bring the knees out to the width of the mat, toes to touch. And then you'll send your hips back to sit onto the heels or reach back for the heels. And bring your forehead as close to the mat as possible, walking your hands forward. Now your hips do not have to touch your heels. Mine certainly don't. You're just actively pressing your hands into the ground here, feeling that stretch in the back, the shoulders, the hips. If the forehead comes to the mat, feel free to place it on the mat. And come back to the breath if you lost the concentration, the focus on the breath. And on your next exhale, push into the hands coming up to your tabletop position. Curl the toes, and then lift your knees off the ground as you shift your weight back. So you're not going up, you're shifting the weight back. And then go ahead and begin to straighten out the knees as you lift your tailbone up. So this is your first downward facing dog. Knees can be bent, heels do not have to touch the ground. You can pedal out one foot, then the other. If you tend to have low back pain, feel free to bend the knees as much as you need. That helps out. If you have tight hamstrings, same deal, bend the knees. Then on your inhale, look forward, bend the knees a little bit more and begin to walk your hands to the top of the mat. Bring your hands to your shins, look out in front of you, flat back here. And then exhale, fold forward. Take one full inhale to roll up vertebra by vertebra. And then from here, we'll just do a little bit of a checkpoint with our posture. So feet are about hips width apart, and that is 2 fists, if you want to measure it out, 2 fists in between the feet. And then lift your toes off the ground just for a moment here. Press the balls of your feet and your heels into the ground so that the weight is across the entire foot rather than too far forward or too far back. And then go ahead and bring your hands to your hips. So you might notice that sometimes some people have a tendency to stick their butts out when they stand, or on the other hand, on the opposite end, pelvis forward, slouching the back. So we're aiming for something right in the middle. So hands on your hips here will keep you accountable to keep your pelvis straight and not tilting back or forward. And so engage the core here. Pull the tailbone down towards the ground, and you'll automatically feel the engagement in the core as you pull the tailbone down, and then relax your hands down by your sides. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up, bring your shoulders up to the ears. And then exhale, lower your hands back down the sides. We'll do that 3 more times. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, hands down. Inhale, reach up, maybe look up at the fingertips. Exhale, lower. 1 more. Nothing is changing with the body here as you do this. And exhale, lower. Bring your hands back to your hips. And so we'll fold forward, but I'll show you how to do this the incorrect way first. This is how we tend to do a forward fold. We just tend to slop down, flop down. And this is not good for your low back at all, or your back or posture. So with your hands on your hips, you're going to fold from the hips. So engage the core here, nice flat back. Bend your knees as much as you need. So slight bend in the knees, totally allowed, probably encouraged. And then as you exhale, fold forward, hinging from the hips here. So you'll probably feel the hips folding on 2 fingers here. Bend your knees as much as you need. You still have a flat back, and then bring your hands down to the ground. Nice generous bend in the knees here. Bend them even a little bit more. And you'll still feel that stretch in the hamstrings. Release the head down so that the crown of the head is reaching towards the mat, and your gaze is to the back of your mat. Maybe shake the head yes and no, or I don't know. And take another inhale, bringing your hands to your shins, flat back, straighten out the legs. And exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up, pressing into the feet here. Knees are still slightly bent. And then exhale, slowly bring your hands to heart center. Come back to a seat. So from this seat here, we're coming into a forward fold. Legs are out in front of you. Again, we're stacking shoulders over the hips, head directly over the shoulders. Reach your arms all the way up. And then exhale, fold forward here any amount. So you'll want to make sure that you're, again, folding at the hips and not from the back. It's very easy for us and comfortable for us to collapse forward, but I am a stickler for this pose and the correct posture. So if you really, really want to touch your toes, just bring a slight bend into your knees and then reach for your feet. As much of a bend as you need here, you still get the stretch. If you're okay with not touching your toes, other options you have are just placing your hands down by your legs, on your shins, or fingertips back behind you, pushing your chest forward. Two more breaths. And then go ahead and walk yourself back up. Place your feet on the ground and then walk your hips or step your hips. Place your hips forward and then come onto your backs. So over here, you want to make sure that the shoulders are down the back here. You feel the collarbones broadening, chest reaching up. And then you'll want your heels to be close enough to you that you can just barely graze them with your fingertips, trying to keep your feet at hips width apart. We're coming into a back bend. So make sure here that your pelvis is tilted forward, so your entire low back is on the ground. And then as you inhale, press into your feet and press your hands into the mat. Lift the hips up. And imagine there's a block in between the thighs here that you're trying to hold up. So don't let the knees fall out. Draw them in towards each other. The thighs are engaged here. Try to relax the glutes as much as you can. It's really hard to do in this pose. Take one more inhale. And exhale, slowly lower down, vertebra by vertebra. And go ahead and hug your knees into your chest. Begin to rock side to side, going slower than you're probably normally used to. Then we'll come into a happy baby. So bring your arms on the inside part of, I'm starting over with that. So bring your arms on the inside, let's say it again. So bring your arms in between the knees and your hands grab hold of your feet, either the outer edge of the feet or the inner edge. And you're actively pulling your right knee towards your right armpit, left knee towards your left armpit, but keep the low back pressing into the ground here. So you're not lifting the low back, keep it pressing into the ground. And you can stay here, maybe you can rock side to side. Adding a little bit of weight to the back here. And then come back to knees hugging into the chest. Then extend your legs long. We'll come into Shavasana. So this is the final pose. Arms are slightly away from the body here, palms face up. Allow your feet to fall off to the sides rather than toes pointed up towards the ceiling. And then you can close your eyes. Shavasana is the perfect pose for the end of a practice. It allows us to acknowledge the work that our body has done. Acknowledge the connection between the mind and the body. And so if you're at home, feel free to hold this pose for 3 to 5 minutes. It's always a good amount to hold Shavasana for. And during this pose, you don't have to concentrate on the breath. Come back to a natural rhythm of breathing. And once you're done with Shavasana, gently bring some movement into the toes and the fingers. And roll onto either the left or the right side of the body. And gently make your way back to a seat. Keeping your eyes closed here, rest your hands on your thighs, your knees. Coming back to easy pose, back where we started. And gently bring your hands to heart center. Actively push your right hand into your left into your right. Find your breath. And tuck your chin slightly to your chest. Thank you all for joining practice today. Namaste. If you enjoyed this practice, feel free to come back next week. We'll have a part 2 to this beginner sequence. It'll consist of the same exact poses, just an extension of a few of them, adding a little bit more. And feel free to subscribe to my channel as well. I'm just starting this out, so for now, videos will be coming out once a week. If you have any questions or comments or requests for classes, body parts that need a little bit more tending to, feel free to comment below. Thank you.